Edit.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? This is just for us now. This is just for us now.
What up, YouTube? This is Insane Monster with a new what if, the beginning what if of what if Asta had truth seeking orbs. Now, if you've seen the later parts of Naruto Shippuden, then you know that these orbs are somewhat indestructible by normal means. They're hard to break, hard to defend against, unless you have a certain uh, ability or such. All really depends on what you use against it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up. Now, with that being said, let's begin. We start with the Sage of the Six Past, since he's dead, but still able to act and communicate with the living. In a odd spiritual way, he decides to go to different worlds. I mean, his mother's already an alien, so it's not that far-fetched. And plus, there was a portal on Earth that went all the way to the moon, so there's that. So it's not the craziest thing that happened in Naruto, but... So the sage traverses worlds, seeing one world after another, coming across the world of Black Clover, finding it very interesting that people are set to one type of ability, magic type. Being intrigued by this, he takes a look around. Of course, no one can see him, but he can see them, until he finds a boy trying to help his friend get back a pendant from a drunk man. He sees this kid has a lot of guts, stubborn, determined, and just all around doesn't know when to give up. It reminds him of his son. At least one of them. So he goes and and follows him, seeing that he's an orphan. An orphan that out of this world filled with magic, he has none. So he decides to be merciful and give him a gift. When he falls asleep that night, he he accesses his dreams to talk to him. Asta just finds himself in an odd place where the ground looks like a floor made out of water. He doesn't quite get it until he sees a man just floating in the air. Well, I can't say sitting since he's floating in the air, but his legs are crossed. He looks at Asta and says, and asks, "What's your name, child?" Asta's hesitant, but he says, "My name's Asta." He then replies with, "Well, Asta, you are a child without any power in this world. A world with magic, where everything is run by magic and determined by magic, and yet you have none. I find that heartbreaking, but what I find uplifting about you is your determination to not let that fact put you down, to not let it take over yourself with despair. I'm not quite from this world, but I would like to help you." Asta is confused and asks, "What do you mean, help me?" The sage smirks and says, "I am somewhat limited in what I can do within your world and gift you. I can only gift you one thing, but from what I've seen, you are more than worthy. You have a good heart, and you wish to help others, even though that you are powerless. Therefore, I shall grant you something special. Do you see the orbs floating around me?" Asta takes a look and sees the black orbs just floating around, just floating under him, with Asta saying, "Yeah, but what are they?" He smirks, saying, "These are called truth-seeking orbs. They are quite powerful, and they can do a good amount of damage while also allowing you to protect yourself as well as others, depending on how you use them. Asta is confused by what he said, asking, "How are little balls supposed to help me?" He holds out his staff and then turns it back into an orb, saying, "These orbs can take whatever shape you wish them to, and they can nullify other types of abilities, though they do have their limit. For instance, an ability that relies on the power of nature. It, these orbs are vulnerable to them. Depending on how strong the attack is, it varies on the effect. So there is that." Asta then asks, "So is it magic?" The sage laughs a bit, saying, "No, my boy, it's not magic. It's more or less the energy of life itself, known as chakra. Though, as I said, I'm limited in what I can give you. These orbs are powerful, and I give them to you in hopes that you will do good things with them, and perhaps save many lives, protect people. You seem like a good kid. It is cruel that you were born without power in this world, so I give them to you." As he places his hand on his chest, he says, "Do good with these. And here's some advice. Never be cruel, never be cowardly. Always be kind." As he smirks and says goodbye to Asta. Then Asta wakes up with it being morning. He's not sure if what he just dreamed was real or not, but he scratches his head thinking, that was way too real to be a dream. And there's no way I could think of something like that. I mean, that guy. He looked kind of weird. He had horns and an eye in the middle of his forehead. Not to mention his regular eyes had rings in them. There wasn't even any whites of his eyes. What was he? Maybe I ate something funny before. Maybe I ate a bad pot potato before I went to bed. As he gets up, he goes back to his training until there's a wolf standing before him. He starts to freak out, worrying that he's going to be killed, thinking, "I can't die now. I promise you know that one of us will be the Wizard King. I can't die." As the wolf lunges toward him, Asta sticks out his hand, and a black orb appears and spreads out to create a wall in front of him, blocking the wolf and causing the wolf to have to go through some severe pain, ultimately forcing it to run with several injuries. As he looked, opening his eyes, he sees, okay, that might not have been a dream. But when he lost his focus from not needing the need or the desire to survive right now. Over the After that, he tried several times and was able to make some more spears or orbs, trying to remember what that old man said and remembering that he called them truth-seeking orbs. Though he's not sure what that name's supposed to mean, but he finds it pretty interesting. He formed one of the spears into a stick and then struck a tree with it, finding that the tree shattered so easily, causing it to just timber down. Then he tried something else, figuring that since they float, maybe he can ride on one of them if he flattens it. So he flattens it into a disc and rides around on it, being excited. He ends up flying all the way to the church, with everyone being surprised that Asta has magic, though not really knowing what exactly the magic he's using is. Asta's just happy, and even helped train him. But with the power just blasting wind at him, the orbs, when they make in a shield, just stop the wind cold. Asta decides not to stop his body training, thinking that it would just be a waste, considering how much training he's already done, and Asta's pretty freaking stubborn. So there's that. So he continues training using the orbs, one in each hand as a stick, to try to practice using them as weapons while using the remaining orbs to control them as shields to protect himself. And he does get rather good at it, practicing every single day. Every now and then he comes across a wild beast. If he can, he kills it and then uses the orbs to help drag it all the way to the church, where they have somebody in the village who knows how to butcher it in exchange for some of the meat and the pelt, which means that the church gets to have some meat to eat along with their pot potatoes. We continue all the way until they're all grown to the grimoire ceremony. Asta, like in canon, doesn't get a grimoire, unlike Yuno, who gets a 4-leaf clover grimoire. But Asta's still determined and doesn't and refuses to give up. Absolutely refusing not to give up on his dream on becoming the Wizard King, stating his little speech as he did in canon, and just leaving. He then just began to practice again and again, trying to get every technique he could think of down, even figuring out that he can use the turn one of his spears flat, round, with blades edges to use as more or less a saw blade, using them in multiple forms, trying to get used to them, though ultimately ending up going back to the Grimoire Tower to check on Yuno and everybody else, where he finds that Yuno has defeated two nobles that tried to attack him, burning in the attempt of burning his 4-leaf grimoire because, well, they're stubborn and they want to show that they're superior to him just because they're nobles and he's a commoner. Yuno obviously beats them badly, with the chain maids then coming in, finding Yuno and taking his grimoire. Once this happened, Asta comes onto the scene with the chain maids attacking him. He hurries and uses his orbs to create a shield. To the chain maid's surprise, they're destroying his. They're just full on destroying his chain magic. He begins to panic and freak out, rapidly firing as many chains as he can. But Asta used one of the orbs to create a circular platform to ride on and fly around. Trying to figure out this guy, he then tries to use one of his orbs to fire at Yuno to break the chains. He broke about two of them, but focusing on freeing Yuno, they left him open since he doesn't have any actual full-on combat training, leaving an opening for the chain mage to strike him with one of his chains, sending him back. As the chain mage walks to him and starts to talk, saying, "You really are an odd one, aren't you? These chains sense magic. You have none, and yet those odd black orbs, able to shatter my chains. Not to mention change forms into whatever you want to defend you and to attack. Rather interesting." As he smirks with an evil grin, saying, "I'm sure there's researchers that would love to get their hands on you." Asta just grips his fist as he says, "No way. You're not taking me. You're not taking Yuno's grimoire." The chain mate smirks, saying, "Oh yeah? You and You and what army? As then the five-leaf clover burst through, going straight to Asta, as it opens up and reveals the Demon Slayer sword. Asta's not sure what's going on, but since this grimoire went to him, he's figuring that it's his grimoire. He didn't think he'd get one. He stood up while the chain mage is saying, "But you have no magic. How? How do you have a grimoire?" As he fires more chains, Asta uses the sword to slash through his magic. Unlike shattering his chains before with the truth-seeking orbs, it completely destroyed the chains, with the maids backing up saying, "What are you? You're some kind of monster, aren't you?" Asta uses one of the orbs to coat his arm to create a black gauntlet, trying it for the first time, blitzing straight for him, slamming him in the gut, upwards. Then as he came down, using the flat of the blade to more or less baseball bat him into the wall, saying, "You're gonna give Yuno's grimoire back right now!" With the chain mage knocked out cold, his magic binding Yuno is disappearing. Asa grabs Yuno's grimoire and hands it back to him, stating, "You really should take better care of this. You know that, right?" As Yuno smirks, saying, I would have found a way to get it back." With Asa just getting annoyed, saying, "Oh really, and how were you going to do that while you were chained up with your magic shield?" With Yuno saying, "I would have found a way." Annoying Austin even more with him yelling, "No, you wouldn't!" As they just smirk and do their fist bump thing with the flashback of their promise, stating that one of them will be the Wizard King. And this is where I'll be ending it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And yes, this video is going into the hat of random what ifs to be drawn. Now, I do hope that you enjoyed and such, and see you later.